The new Flat Rate Podcast.
The new Flat Rate!
For contractors ready to boost tickets, simplify business, and gain freedom. Today, we sat down with Jim Penning of Penning Plumbing and Heating Incorporated to hear how the new flat rate helped turn daily chaos into consistent growth. Now, let's get into it.
I'm Jim Penning, Penning Plumbing and Heating Incorporated. We started in 1917. We're a third generation company. My brother and I own and operate it. My role is Chief Operating Officer.
Jim, how long have you been with the new flat rate?
Got to be like 12 years now.
What headache did you have before the new flat rate? And how is life now?
Yeah, we had all the problems that everybody's got. I mean, what drove me to it was simply we needed a price book that would work with Successware, our dispatching software, because they were coming out with iPads. So the technicians, that was when we were still writing with paper. So the technicians would have to, hand write everything. Well, they don't have the neatest handwriting, and it takes forever to get the stuff, read and understood. And there's all kinds of problems. There's everybody's problems. And I said, yeah, we got to get that from my brother. I just told my brother, I said, yeah, just get it right now. And he said, well, you got a problem. You need a price book. Mars doesn't work with it. I said, well, I'll take care of that. Well, I remember looking up flat rate price books on the internet, and the new flat rate came up. That's the first one I called. I got a video. I was at home, and my daughters were vacuuming in the house. They're dragging this big old clumsy vacuum around the house. I'm not complaining or anything. They're just doing their thing, and I was impressed with them. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go get you something. I'm going to get you something you're going to really, really like. What is it? What is it? What is it? I didn't tell them. I went down to Lowe's to get a Dyson vacuum that they could real light battery powered and make it really simple for them, right? Well, I thought I'd spend $200 or $300. When I got to the parking lot, that's when I got the call back from TNFR, and they wanted to set up I had 15 minutes later, they're going to set me at a meeting up with Rodney. And anyway, I'm in the parking lot, and I get that mess. So I got 15 minutes. So I go in there and find the vacuums, and they got vacuums from $29.95 to $1,500, And so I read the bullet points, and I grabbed the one I wanted and spent about $600. That's 2 or 3 times more than what I intended. And then on the way home, I went outside and talked to Rodney, and he knew in advance of what all the problems I'm going through. Anybody that's been in business for any period of time knows what the problems are. And as he went through, I said, well, then what do you do about this? What do you do about that? And he's like, what do you care? And I thought about it. I said, I really don't. And so, I just knew that it was right for us. I actually knew so much that I cut our cost per productive hour down by $65, and we haven't changed since. Actually, prices have gone up because the product's gone up, but my price for labor hasn't gone up. You guys worked for. I told them they're either a choice. This is kind of a critical part. I think from what I learned with the stories that Suzanne comes home with, I think this is a critical part for people to understand. You can't do it halfway. It doesn't. It's not going to be effective if you do it halfway. I knew. I never worked in the field really for any period, for summers, but in high school. But I never really worked in the field. My mind was out in other areas of the business, And I'd worked for a supply house. I'd worked as a rep agency, as an independent rep. And I talked to all the people. I knew the problems they had, that's in every area of the industry. And so I had an advantage over most, I think, contractors, but I knew it was right. And Rodney gave me the confidence that when I asked him, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. Was that right? He goes, yeah, that's right. Well, okay. So I went and ran with it. And I told my guys, I says, look, I said, my brother and I are sick of it. We're gonna close the doors and you guys can go work somewhere else. Um, or there's one thing left. Because they weren't happy and we're putting out fires every day and they're the ones creating the fires and they're grumpy when you come in the morning and I just was sick of it. My brother was sick of it too. So I said, well, we got one shot. We got this new flat rate system. We can try that if you guys will all agree to do every call, regardless of what it is. Every call goes through this TNFR project process. And if this thing works, I says, when we're done, then I'll start bonusing you guys every week. So they did. I shook my hand, and two of them and a helper went to another contractor, who then took on TNFR after a year of them being there because they couldn't make any money either. They had the same problems. I don't know how well they're doing with it because I don't think that guy is going to commit 100%, but maybe they will. Anyway, the other five guys that were left then, they did more volume than what we did with the seven. And then and of course, it was way more profitable. And they got their 3 months went by and they did it all and we were making money. I got my money back, my original investment back, which Rodney had guaranteed I would in 90 days. And so then I started the bonus program and yeah, I haven't raised their hourly rate since. None of them. Well, there's a young kid that got an increase, but and a kid got it, and somebody got licensed too. So they got a master's license. So I got to pay them the going rate, but then their bonus makes up the other half of their income. So and that's where it really lies. It lies in their hands now. I don't put out fires anymore. I see the smoldering and I put that out right away. But other than that,
What was your revenue before the new flat rate? And what is your revenue now?
yeah, I really can't. I can't honestly tell you that. I just know that the first year they stayed around for a year or so, but they never got onto this. The guys that have been there a long time. Well, one of them wanted to train other techs, and we just don't need to do that. We cross train anybody that comes in new. We cross train, but we train ourselves. Everybody that works for me now came to me and learned from me. Yes, and they all help all the other techs because it's a team, you know. Yeah, we threw out all our why choose us and all our little sayings. I remember working, I don't know how many hours I put into an elevator script that I don't even use now because it's 30 seconds long. And nobody's gonna memorize it 30 seconds long. But the bottom line is we threw all those little sayings and all the little stuff out. I said, you know what, we're here to help people at a profit. And that's it. So that sign went all around her, just posted up everywhere around her shop, you know. And that's what I remind them of. Was that decision gonna help people? And was it gonna make us profitable? Tell me how. And if you tell me how, then I'll buy it. And if you don't, then you don't do it again. Matt was a great trainer. Was through two classes. Well, I went to your class down in Georgia before I even had him up here, but because they just said they'd let me in there. But yeah, I knew it when they came to our place. I brought them into our place, and I knew it before I got there, so it wasn't anything new for me, you know. Well, I put money term and get my money back. Yeah, we figured with the loss of revenue and everything, we had about $45,000 invested in this thing, and I had it back in 2.5 months.
What was your operation like before the new flat rate? And what's it like now?
We had an office manager, we had a service manager, and we had somebody in the back room that was always a crutch for all the techs. We don't have any of those people anymore. Not needed. Their policies really started a lot of fires by themselves, you know. Technicians they throw their monkey wrench into the deal, and you got it for flaming fire, you know. But now these guys because they have to qualify for their bonus, so they don't jerk around. They've got to qualify by perfect performance of the TNFR and perfect performance of the remote, the iPad use, which tracks their time. If they don't get a bonus, and it's up to them to come to me and say, "How come I didn't get a bonus this week?" They don't come and won't get one next week either, but they come and they learn, you know. Fires, they manage themselves now. I write the bonuses every week.
And if you don't mind sharing this with me, Jim, what is the highest bonus check you have written for one of your techs in a single week?
$3,500. Well, all but one made the highest level. All but one made 10 grand or more in revenue. And one that didn't make it was like 8,000. But I wrote checks for 2,500 and for 2,100 and 1,800, 1,600, I think, and one was like $700 or something. It's just like he had set up. I don't think he used it. I think now he goes to hourly rate or something. But when Matt trained us, he also had another option, which was percentage. And I monitor it really close, so they have to qualify or they don't get it. If they qualify, then they have to bring in at least $3,500, and then they'll get 3.5%. If they bring in 5,000 or more, they'll get 5%, 8% at 8,000, and 10% at 10,000 or more. So the $3,500 guy, he did $35,000 worth of work that week, and he didn't mess around. He didn't cheat on his time. He didn't say he got home at 6:30 when he got home at 5 or what. Let's see, he gets paid like, I think he's getting paid about $25 an hour. He works 48 hours a week. The biggest thing was the windshield time. I knew that we were gonna go from running 5-6 calls a day to 2, or 1 or a half. Or a quarter. He sold a job yesterday. Well, he sold a job for, say $7,000, and then he sold another 11. When he was there, he sold a water heater that had to be on another. I don't know what it was now, but it had to be somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000. And then he sold $11,000 with air conditioning equipment. So heating and cooling equipment rather. And he's got another guy in a job for 2 days. So he's got two guys working for 2 days, and he's gonna bring in what I say, 11, 7. He's gonna bring well over 20 grand in 2 days. And he gave that work to the other tech too. So he'll get credit for it. They'll both make their 10% that week, this week. So it kind of worked together that way too.
What was your profit before the new flat rate? And what is your profit now?
Price has gone up a little bit. But we do about $2,500 or $2,500,000 a year. And that's what we were doing back before I reduced the rates by $65 an hour. Okay. Same kind of, and I had 7, I had 8 technicians at least, and then I had 3 more support staff. I never replaced the 2 that left and the helper. I just went down to 5, and then we lost the 2 managers, and we made them quit. The 2 managers and the warehouse guy too. They were all just dead weight. We still do 2.5 million. We'll do more this year, but that's because the prices went up. Just way more profitable with 5 techs. I mean, I'd take a 6th one on if he fit in the family, but then sometimes come, I don't want to lay anybody off either.
And before we close out, Jim, is there any other comments you would like to share?
I asked Rodney why he hadn't figured out how everybody in the industry isn't going to this. And I think it's because they are afraid to commit 100%. Every contractor has been in business for any period of time. If they're either still struggling like we did for, you can make 1 to 3%, or you're going to lose that much in a year, right? And you can pay yourself a decent wage, but you're going to work your ass off, and you're going to sweat a lot. You're going to worry a lot. Now, I never had to worry about payroll. I think we've been blessed, that way, but we don't owe anything to anybody either. The bottom line is, I think contractors that are in the service business, in the plumbing service business, heating service business, they have their experiences, and that their experiences are hard to get past. I think you as a salesman going and selling your product or your service, they're not going to believe you. We were fortunate because we got to a point where we really didn't want to do this anymore. Screw it, we're old enough, we can retire. But I didn't want to have my grandpa's business die on my watch. So took this long shot and challenged the techs and told them to either go get another job or try this out. And they said, we'll try this out. And it worked out famously.
Thank you so much, Jim, for having this conversation with me today. If you want to learn more about the new flat rate, go to thenewflatrate.com.